Hey, what's up? My name is Fernando Campos, licensed marriage and family therapist. And lately I've been getting a lot of questions about couples counseling and relationships. And I don't know about you, I don't know if you've ever had one of those amazing conversations that you really wish someone would have recorded. Well, somebody did. And here it is. So I wanted to share it with you. I hope that you find it helpful, and I'll see you there. I like helping people navigate through the dynamic of their relationship. I think it's a very, not troubling, but it's a difficult plane to navigate. It's a lot of different aspects. There's this person's dynamic, how they grew up, everything, plus this person's dynamic, how they grew up, everything that they understand and their values, and trying to like merge those into one world it's a really tricky thing. Most sessions are between 50 minutes to 60 minutes. You can have, let's say, 90 minutes or an hour and a half. I find that, especially with couples counseling, there's a lot of things to say. People need to feel heard, and it's important that both parties feel heard. At the same time, I also don't want to just have a room for them to argue. To fill an hour and a half of that, I don't feel it to be beneficial to the clients. So I want to make sure that I allow people to have the space and the freedom to talk and engage, while also not focusing too much on just letting the argument happen. I need to see it sometimes. Sometimes I need to see the dynamic between the partners, and seeing how they argue is more important sometimes than what they argue about. If people are arguing in front of me, part of it is me listening to them and listening to what their feelings are, the passions, what's driving this argument, but also how they argue, the dynamic of that. Oftentimes they may have something that they've been preparing to talk about, or sometimes people prepare like statements. They want to like say this within couples counseling. Other times they don't really know where to start, and so I tend to want to start with what their goals are. And goals can easily turn into complaints. Saying I want to feel more loved can easily go into why I don't feel loved. I know sometimes people want to come in and they want things to change right then. But the truth is, I'm not sure exactly what the goals are for each of them. One person may have a picture of a relationship that they are trying to fulfill, and the other person may have a different picture. So I try to emphasize on the goals so that we have this constant target that we're trying to hit, and understanding that of what we want, what we need, what our body's telling us in regards to our relationship. And then we can address, we might not be feeling it, or why we should be feeling it more, why we think we should be feeling it more. Either way, we need that goal to really understand where we're going in therapy. I would say some of the most common problems is generalization. I think that's a big thing that happens often, where people have a desire or feeling that they want from their relationship. Let's say they want their partner to hold their hand, or they want to have more like intimacy or more sexuality, or whatever the case may be. This idea that like, wouldn't everyone, why is it so hard for you to do this? Those types of statements kind of make it seem as though it should be easy to hold hands, or it should be easy to be intimate, or people should have more sex or should have less sex. And overall, these generalizations take away our power of choice of what we want. I want a relationship with more laughter. I want a relationship with more sexuality. I want a relationship where we have this type of communication. It's a lot harder to argue that point versus any man would want this much. No, not all guys want that. Any woman should. You should be grateful. Like, these should statements that come from generalizations can often make us very frustrated with the person that we're in relationship with. And I understand that, because it's something that we want that we're not getting. But at the same time, we're not helping them to learn that, understand that, and to grow in that. If they have a weakness in math, we don't say, well, you should be able to do algebra. We say, okay, well, if you don't know how to do algebra, let's start at what you do know. And that question, that idea kind of gets tossed out the door, because it's not about, well, let's start at what you are doing and adjusting that. It's, I just can't believe that you're not doing this other thing. And so then that becomes like criticism, and that comes a personal attack. Women should be able to cook, or men should be able to, like, these kind of generalizations, versus I want to be in a relationship with someone like this, like that. It also puts more responsibility on our choices on ourselves, rather than like the human population. And this is what it's like to date in Florida. Right. That kind of thing. Yes, a lot of people say things like communication is key. And I think people have pushed for more communication, but I don't know if they've pushed for quality communication. So the difference there is there an aspect of progress either in behavior or in understanding? If you feel like you're communicating well and this communication is improving your understanding of that person and they repeat the action, and you're just as surprised, then maybe you didn't really understand. You were expecting something different when they expressed that they couldn't do this. And at the same time, are we just getting into argument matches? Are we just shouting back and forth? Obviously, there's the blatant toxic behaviors, which is like high volume, violent tendencies, that kind of thing. And at the end, is there any kind of resolution? Whether we're talking about something small, like, who left the milk out last night, or something big, like who didn't pay rent on time, or who did this or that, or who left the kid over here, whether it's big or small, like we need to have some kind of understanding or resolution. Not to say that the behaviors change, but we have to have something that says that conversation was worth it. And at the end, if all we have at the end was hurt, pain, no better understanding, no better direction, then I would say that you may talk for 2 hours, but if both of you just feel defeated and insulted and you haven't actually made any kind of progress or connection, then that would be bad communication. Was the last conversation worth it in any way, shape, or form? Either A, do they understand me more? Do I understand them more? Are we moving in a better direction? That kind of thing. And so I would say that focusing on communication while not focusing on the quality of communication is a big issue. And I would say the improvement of that can come through therapy. I think coming into a room with a third party person, someone who's not on anyone's side, but on both people's side, wanting the best for both individuals, unbiased, can really help, challenge certain statements. Oftentimes when I'm with my couples, I will repeat in my own words what either person has said. So let's say one partner says something and then the other partner, and they'll start to argue, and I will take kind of an interjection and I will express the same thing just in my words, understanding what this person's triggers may be, and vice versa. And oftentimes the couples will agree with those statements. They'll agree with what I said, and I'm just saying it in a different way than they are. And so the difficult part is that people equate good communication with love. And the truth is, like, I love everybody, but I don't have intimate love for these clients. I don't have this, like, I am so good at communicating with you because I love you and have these feelings. That's not the case. It's a skill. It's something that I've worked on. It's something that I've practiced. Your partner has the love. They may not have the skill. And if we attach their lack of skill to a lack of love, we can feel like it's more insulting or hate being thrown left and right when it's really misunderstanding, miscommunication. Ooh, expectations is a fun one. It's fun because it's not my job to curb people's expectations. I think, you have people who shoot for the stars, they land on the moon. You have other people who don't hit the marks that they want, whether it be in career and relationship, that kind of thing. When it comes to expectations, we have to know that they're our own and they're not, let's say, the male expectation or the female expectations. Going back to the generalizations, if we can recognize that I'm expecting this from this person, know that the higher my levels of expectation, the more it minimizes the potential match. The more selective I am, the less people I select, the less people that will fit that criteria. So I think it's important for people to, regardless of whether they're in relationship or not in relationship, to really recognize their values. What is it that I value? What is it that matters to me? Am I expecting something from a partner, whether I'm in a relationship or not? But are those healthy expectations? Are they realistic expectations? Are they expectations that I can talk about and encourage people to improve on? So let's say I have the expectations that will be fit, that will exercise together. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's an unhealthy expectation, but if I'm expecting them to, bench press this amount and do this and play in every sport that I play in it, know that there isn't a problem with wanting it, but know that it is my expectation that I'm putting on another human being. And the more things I put on that checklist, the less likely that someone can check them all off. And if we get mad for someone else not meeting our expectations, they're a human being. They probably are trying. The fact that they're in relationship at all means that in the world right now, they'd rather be with you than anyone else. So obviously they like you. So if they're not meeting this expectation, more than likely it's not just because they don't care about you enough. It may mean that they're not capable of it, or they are misunderstanding. They don't know. They're unaware of it. There's all these other things that sometimes changes the dynamic. If they become aware of it, maybe they go into it more. If they feel like it's something that is completely against them and it's not for them, they have the right to be able to express that without it necessarily being a fight. Like, how dare you be the kind of person that doesn't meet my expectation? The
It's not
point,
fair.
yeah, the point of argument at that, it doesn't really move us forward in any kind of direction. And some people don't want to separate, not because they're absolutely in love with that person, but they're in love with who they expect that person to be.